So Damstra Insights, this is the homepage of Damstra Safety. Damstra Insights is accessed via the dashboard, Damstra Insights. So if I click on that, it opens up a new screen with our Damstra Insights library being the homepage or landing page. For this webinar, I'll be using demo data. So don't be surprised if you see some weird stuff going on. It actually makes a lot more sense to you when you're using your own data. The landing page or library contains dashboards which have visuals from the visual gallery. The visual gallery is made up from sources, and those sources are everything that you've put in every field of Damstra Safety. I'll head back to the library and let's get started. For the library, people that use safety, they want to know about events. So from the library, using the search bar, if I type in events, I can see that I've got safety events register, my events action register, and event investigation time to completion. And they've got these little stars next to them because they're my favorites. If I shoot over here, here are all my dashboards, my favorites, and any dashboards created by me. Going back to my favorites, there is a dashboard called the Events Action Register. So I'm going to open that. And as I open that, we see that we have filters across the whole dashboard. I could export my dashboard as screenshot a PDF. I can refresh my dashboard, favorite or unfavorite, add visuals, or save it as something else if I'm a creator in Damstra Safety. So I've opened up my Safety Events Action Register and I scroll up to the top and I think, what's going on here? There's only one event, one incident. I know what's going on here. It's called the timeline. If I shoot down here to the bottom, you'll see that I've got this little action date way at the bottom left. And if I click on that, the action date, I can make that the event date and everything is reading event date. And then I'll click on the calendar. And from the calendar, I've got presets. And the presets has everything from the maximum available range all the way down to a rolling minute. I wouldn't recommend filtering your dashboard by rolling minute as the sources are only updated about every 15 minutes from Damstra Safety. Or what I could do is make a dynamic date. And those of you that remember business intelligence, a dynamic date. So I'm going to go dynamic date. Now, enable the offset. Now minus 2 years and apply to a dynamic date of now. Apply that from now minus 2 years. Everything is reading and we've got 28th of November 2020 all the way to today. So let's have a look at what we've got here. Over the last 2 years, there's been actions by event type, top 10 actions person, our action count, completed actions, underway, not started, and empty, and we have filters. If I shoot up here to the filter full site name, you will see that I've got many sites here. If there's a site in your site structure that isn't in here, it means that there's no actions or no events for this time period. I could filter by event type, the event stage, the status, and whether the event is sensitive or not. Way over here on the right, I could export my dashboard as a screenshot, a PDF, or a file. Refresh my dashboard, make it a favorite, add to favorites, add a visual to it, or save it as something else. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to have a look at this top 10 action person. And we see we've got a person called B test. If I left click on any of these segments, if I left click here, if I left click here, I've got further actions. I could zoom in and have any actions by the category or description. I could look at the details of Mr. B test's actions from those dates, open it in my table, or export the raw data. For this today, what I'm going to do, very handy little device is called, I'm going to remove B test. And you'll see that there's a little grey 1 next to it. That means that the action person, I'm excluding B test, but the event date is from the time bar. So now that's telling me that the top 10 action people are these people. Why is it top 10? What I'm going to do is shoot over here to these 3 dots, which is editing the visual. So I'm going to edit the visual, and you'll see in my sort and limit icon, I've got limited to top 10. This is really, really handy if you're doing an events register and you want injuries by top 10 subjects or injuries by top 10 categories. I can have it sorted by the total action count, the event status, the event type, the subject, and I could have it ascending or descending. The next icon is the time or the filter. I could add a filter. For this visual that's highlighted in blue, I could add a filter here. So if I add a filter, I could say that for this top 10 action person, I just want the event type to include or exclude. I'm going to leave it as include illness, incident, injury, or near miss. And click continue. So now my filters have my action person is excluding B, illness, incident, injury, near miss. And I'll apply that. Can you see that the visual on my dashboard is the only one reading? If I wanted my whole events action register to have that happen, I could use a filter up here, add a filter to my whole dashboard. Again, that my event type, illness, incident, injury, near miss, continue and apply. And now everything is reading across my whole dashboard. With my top 10 action person, I'll edit that visual again, add a filter, and you'll see there's this little nest filters here, nest filters. Got and, and Michelle, I think you asked this. Nest filters, I'm going to click on nest filters, and I can shift that the event time includes that, or I'll add a filter. The action event status just not started. So now I have these nest filters. The event date is from the time bar, and the event status includes not started, or the event type includes the 4 big main ones. And I could click and apply that one. Nest filters is where you get your and your or. Editing this visual again, I'll go to the next icon down, which is the settings. And with these settings, I could show the labels, take off the values, or take off that percentage, the relative values. I can also increase my bar thickness to 100. What you may not have played around with before is that we've got this enable the subgroup. If you have a look over here, I've grouped it by the action person. If I enable the subgroup, I now have this little subgroup appearing here. So with this subgroup, with these actions, I actually want to know the status of these actions. So with my subgroup, I actually want the action status. And while that does its thing, remember all of these other visuals, you can group not just by event type, you could group by category. You would come down here and group this by subject. That's all reading, doing its things here. Now this top 10 action person starts to look a little bit terrible. So I'm going to fix that. Edit that visual. Go to my settings. I'm going to make that a stacked bar chart. So now I've got a pretty valuable visual called top 10 actions person in my safety events action register. Now that I've messed with it, probably need to rename it. So what I'm going to do is call top 10 actions by status. This one over here is now actions by category. Scrolling down here, actions by treatment required and action status. Let's see what we can do here. What I'm going to do is change the columns, not to the status, but I probably want them by the subject. And over here with the subject name, well, that's just too much in my pie graph. I'm going to edit that visual, go to my limiter, and I'll limit that to the top 10. So instantly, by changing the column to subject name, we can see that body stressing first aid, we've had 6 of those events. Foreign body, no treatment. Actually, foreign body, we've had a lot of first aid as well. So that's not a bad little heat map. And I'll change that to treatment by subject. I'm going to shoot up to the top to my dashboard filter again. I'm going to add a filter that the level 1 name would include or exclude. I'm going to exclude anything that doesn't have a site. So now all of my filters have 2 little green numbers. That's not a bad looking dashboard for events. I quite like that. What I'm going to do is remember these filters are actually visuals as well. So I'm going to remove that filter or remove that. In this actions by status, you know that we can shift our visuals around and resize them. And make myself a glorious dashboard. So what I'm going to do is save that as events last 2 years. And you'll see there's a little checkbox that says create copies for all the visuals on the dashboard. That means when I messed about with this one and I added subcategories here, I want to save those visuals. So I'll create copies for all the visuals on the dashboard and save that. And up here, events last 2 years has been saved. If I head back to my library, events last 2 years has been saved. I'll favorite that. If I look in my visual gallery, you can see that the visuals I've created are used in one dashboard and I can't delete them. The reason I can't delete them is because they are being used in a dashboard. I go back to my library. I could delete the dashboard that I just created. And in my visual gallery, now I can delete the visuals and have a bit of tidy up every now and then. Back into my library, when we look at events, I search for any events and dashboards. We are only looking at these. However, there are over 50 dashboards here, standard dashboards, to do with every module in safety. If I keep checking on the modified date, I can see that there's work going on by the developers for these dashboards. There's a really cool dashboard I found called Safety Positions Register. Now, usually, if you're looking for events, you wouldn't be looking at this one, but I think this is a cool dashboard. And it's probably one you haven't looked at yet. And it's looking pretty catastrophic here as it's reading everything. That's the Safety Positions Register. I'm going to shoot down to my calendar and I'm going to use a preset of current year and apply. So now it's given me the current year. Go up to the top and add a filter. I want to say that the incident severity is insignificant, major, moderate, high. I might choose catastrophic as well and apply that. So what we've got going on here, I can remove this legend, is some pretty cool heat maps. Tells me that over this time period, there have been 90 injuries with the incident severity of insignificant. And over to this one here, the status active and archived doesn't really tell me much because most of my events I'm looking at, I want to be active. Again, I can come down here and I can group them by incident category. If I make this one bigger, we can see immediately that the team leader has had 4 moderate incidents. The head of scale clients has had 3, and our catastrophic was actually the trainer. How ironic is that? Again, if I have any empty or any data that I don't want, I can left click and just remove that subset. Now I've grouped these by incident. Far too many. Edit my visual, up to my sort, limit that to 10, and apply. So this is how the dashboards in the standard dashboard, safety, positions, register, it can be used for other things as well. This event severity, I'm going to add a filter just to that one. See how it's highlighted in blue? I'm going to add a filter that the event type are just those 3 and apply just for that one there. And I'm going to save this as create the copies and save. With all of these visuals up in the 3 dots, I could edit the visual, undo. Undo is also down here. You could undo anything you've just done. I could export my visual as a screenshot, a PDF, or the raw data as a CSV, save my visual, or remove my visual. If I go ahead and copy my visual, I've already got that really good data in here. It says event severity unsaved, copied my visual, edit that visual, and make that a bar graph. So I could have my data as a table, a heat map, a bar graph. And now that I have my insignificant, moderate, high, major, it's all sorted. It's looking quite good. If I wasn't to save this, it says unsaved, and I go back to the library, it says your changes haven't been saved. So I can cancel that. And now that I've made my dashboard events this year, instead of save as, I'm just going to save that. Select this checkbox to say save that as well. So that's about using the visuals in the library to make your own visuals, to make your own dashboards using existing visuals. Now I'm going to add a dashboard and let's see what we can do there. Creators in Damstra Safety have add dashboard. If I add a dashboard, or untitled dashboard, unsaved, from here I could place existing visuals out of my visual gallery, or I could add a visual using the sources. I'm going to add a visual, and the visual is going to be, I want to know about training. I want to create a monthly report to say that people have been trained. So I'm going to use the people trained register. And my visual type, I'm going to start off with a table. So now here's my safety people register, trained register as a table. To be trained, you would have had to complete the course. So I'll add a filter, and you'll see that clicking here is the same as clicking here. It opens up this visual editing gallery. So I'm going to add a filter that the course completed has to be yes, and continue. And apply that. So now I'm getting all my courses that have been completed. In my filters, in my settings, I'll go settings, and where I didn't have anything before, I now have what's called edit groups. So what I'm going to do is going to put a group in there, and the group is going to be the training start date. So I'm going to grab that and shoot it up to the top and put it in the group. Now that I've grouped my training start date, I have granularity. And from here, I could choose week, month, quarter, or year. I want people trained by month, so I'll choose month. And then these columns here, course completed, you'll see they've got aggregation as well. Just going to apply that to see what it starts looking like now. So here's my training calendar here. And if it's not in order, I just need to click on training start date and it puts it in order for me. Well, I don't want training all the back to 2010. So what I'll do is I'm going to add a filter that the time is the training start date from the time bar. So I'll apply that. And just like that, you'll see that the time bar has appeared. So from my time bar, I'll go to my presets and have just the current year or current year to date. So what I've done is I've now grouped my training by month. I'll go back and edit the visual down to my settings. And from here, I'm going to grab the employee number. I'm going to shoot it up to the top to my columns, probably the course name, and probably my full name as well. Probably the only ones I want. What I can do in settings is just remove those columns. Might leave the site name there. And the training status. So over here, now I've got those columns. If I grab that employee number, click on the 3 dots, can you easily get the column back? You certainly can. What you can do is click here. And these are the columns I've got here. But if I go back to that visual, to my settings, and edit these columns, there's a little grey pencil, tiniest little grey pencil in the world, and I could add those back in here. With this employee number, clicking on those 3 dots, I've got more functionality. Now I've got aggregation of count or distinct count. So what's the difference between count and distinct count? Distinct count means I'm going to I'm going to count unique values. For this, it's my number of training, and if I counted distinct count unique values, it's going to choose one person that they've done one course. Whereas this is training by month, so I'm going to count the number of employees that have done the training. There they are. Oh, it's not in order. I'll just put it back in order. What I might do with that visual is just put it small there. And I'm going to copy that visual. Edit the visual to my visual style and make that a bar graph. Group by sensitive event. Well, I don't want to group it by sensitive event. I actually want to group it or I've got to delete that visual. These things happen in live. I'll try that again. It doesn't look like it's going to work for me. That's all right. With this one here, I'll edit that visual, make that a bar graph. And probably just start again. Might just shoot over to a new demo database. Add my dashboard. Always with webinars, always have a backup. Edit that visual. Put that up in my group. By month and apply. Add my time at the training start date. Sort. Go to my calendar for current year and apply. My employee number, I'm going to count how many employees did that training. Copy that visual. Edit the visual. 2 bars. And then what I'm going to do is go back to that settings and enable that subgroup. And I'll show the values. So now I'm going to group that by the training start date. I could have it by year, quarter, month, or week. I'll go by month. That's not looking too bad. We had 48 people trained in January. And then I'd probably want the course name. And I'll edit that visual, make it horizontal. So now that I can see in January 2022, we had 29 employees do the Construct Safeguard course, people trained register. I'll just copy that one again. Edit that visual. I make it that a donut. And group that by the course name. So there we have our visual and a donut. Of course, this is a grouped in January. I have a functionality in my settings. I could make that a stacked bar. Then what I'll do is I'll save my dashboard as and out of courses, I'll save that one. People trained. Save that one. And I'll save my dashboard. Getting back to the library, people trained per month, I'll favourite that. So now that I have my people trained per month, I have my manager's dashboard last month events that I can delete because I created it, and I have an events register. The events register is a standard dashboard. What I'm going to do now is send the events register. I come across here to the schedule. I'm going to add a schedule. A new schedule, and it's going to come to me as a PDF or a PNG. It's a portable network graphic. So I want a PDF, and I could send the report to me weekly on a Monday at 8 a.m. for the next month. And save that. I could also, instead of sending the report just to me, if I untick that, I'm going to send it to Lucian. I'm also going to send it to Tim and Samantha, weekly on a Monday at 8 a.m. Then you would say to me, with the events register, Lucian's in Auckland, Tim's in Wellington, and Samantha's in Christchurch. According to their site structure in Damstra Safety, they can't, then they shouldn't be able to see events from different areas. What's so good about these scheduled reports is that regardless of who the creator is of the dashboard and what access I have, Lucian and Tim and Samantha are only going to get the events relating to their area in the site structure. So I'll save that. And you'll see it's saved because we've got our play button. The scheduled report is active. Of course, I could remove that schedule and close that. I see some questions there about what does this look like as a PDF. What I'm going to do is export that as a PDF, and I could put a header there. Add my username and a timestamp and export that. And it looks like this as a PDF. With this one here, donut of courses, I could also export that as a screenshot and add it to any reports that I have. I could just use that visual as its own little graphic or screenshot. So this safety people trained visual, even though it says it's a register, it's still a visual. If I was to go ahead and add the details register, from here, I could export that raw data as a CSV file. Of course, with this donut of courses, with this 29 people that attended this course, if I was to left click and look at the details, I could open that in a table or export that raw data. And there it is there. The other thing I wanted to show you today was observations. Again, we have top 10 categories by observations. I'm going to edit that visual to my settings, enable the subgroup, show the values, and by grouping them by the category and the subgroup to the subject. So there are many things we can do with our standard dashboards, and of course, creating our own dashboards and broadcasting them. I'm just going to shoot over to the questions, see if I can answer some of these for you. Abby, that would be a support ticket to have an automatic export schedule of raw data to an FTP. I know it's possible. Where do we view inspections? I think inspections come under compliance in the compliance register. We've also got completed vault checks and audit types. I see most of those questions have been answered. Someone's just asked me before about not being able to see that they've got insights. Let me just quickly show you where that is. If I go to my dashboard insights here, how do we make that appear if we don't have it? If you have access as a super user, or you may have to ask your safety manager or safety advisor, someone with super user access, what they would do, they'd come up here to the settings, down to users, user authorization, actions and edit. And you'll see here where it says insights, you could have no access, safety viewer, and those were like report viewers in business intelligence, or creator. And a creator was like report writer or BI admin. So first of all, we need to make sure we've got creator there. And then select the user group profile full access. I'm going to save that user. I'll shoot back to settings, users, user group profiles, search for full access, actions, and edit that group access. And from there, because insights would have come into your safety system as disabled, what you need to do is come into edit full access, enable insights for that group, and save. If you are in this webinar and only just doing this now, and then you go to click on your insights, you click on it and it says you don't have access yet or your profile's not recognized, give it about 15 minutes and try it again. Because what it's doing is gathering up all the sources from all the modules. So it's about 15 minutes. So that's about it from me today. I will go through your questions and respond to you individually with your questions. But otherwise, please feel free to reach out with a support ticket at service@damstratechnology.com. If you are having problems sharing your dashboards or broadcasting your dashboards, please reach out to the service desk. I have thoroughly enjoyed teaching you insights today. Again, if you haven't looked at the webinar with the starting point and how to create just the basic visuals, please watch that little 18-minute webinar. And as new things are coming in and the developers have shown me what's coming soon, like very, in business intelligence, you had conditional formatting with not started being red, underway being orange, and completed being green. It's coming. It's honestly the things that they are doing every day with insights is incredible. Keep an eye out on the releases. I will be having another webinar on insights. As new things are made, I'll make you a webinar or just follow Damstra Technology on YouTube. But otherwise, it's been an absolute pleasure seeing you all here again today, and I'll see you again. Thank you.